it goes beyond just that act of giving food, but also service.
By going to exploreucity.com, you can see the list of restaurants that are participating. And they have a special meal to donate to frontline workers. You can purchase that meal, and we send them to a local area hospital to support our frontline workers.
All small businesses rooted in community, and it benefits from the community, obviously, but hopefully it also contributes back to the community.
I'm Jonathan Ahl. This is St. Louis on the Air. On today's show, we talked with two restaurant owners who are doing extraordinary things in difficult times. The pandemic has been especially hard on restaurants as they've been pivoting from business as usual to carry out only, then some back to limited dining, outdoor seating, then back to carry out only, trying to keep customers happy and coming back, and as many employees as possible still on the payroll. Despite those challenges, some owners are trying to help those in need. Here to talk about it are Joe Jovanovich, who's the owner, along with his mom, Teresa Connolly, of the Connolly Tavern, and Mohammed Qadadeh, founder of American Falafel. Joe and Mohammed, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And so let's start with why, a little bit about what you're doing and what this program is about and how you hope it'll help your community. Joe, we can start with you.
Sure, thanks. Appreciate the opportunity to get to talk about our efforts to give back, as you mentioned, while we're also struggling through keeping the doors open. So the Connolly Tavern has launched a program we're calling Nourish the Neighborhood, and it's an effort where customers can add a meal to their order. This is a pay-it-forward meal that we will then deliver to community agencies who are serving families in need. But of course, it also serves as a win-win because as that revenue comes in to help us create these meals we're going to donate, it's also keeping our doors open and helping us keep staff on payroll to produce these meals and keep the gears turning, which, as you mentioned, has been a struggle these past, 9 months now, but, looks like it's going to keep being a struggle for at least several months longer. So we really thought about what are we going to do to innovate and try to come up with something that can keep us able to support our employees, but also support others during this holiday and winter season.
Mohammed, was it difficult to try to find a way to do two extraordinary things? I mean, just staying open is hard enough, but also to figure out a way to help other people?
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and a great American Falafel to you, morning to you and to the St. Louis Public Radio listeners. It was a bit, but I think, just the nature of American Falafel and the restaurants in the Loop, we are a community-based that helps each other. And if everybody grows together, everybody benefits. So when the announcement happened that the shutdown is going to occur, within 48 hours, we banded together, and we have now up to 20 restaurants in the Loop participating in the Loop Gives Back program. So every Sunday or Wednesday, we basically collect donations and provide them to frontline workers in hospitals across St. Louis. And the program is growing, and more restaurants are joining the effort, and more people are donating, which is fantastic. It's helping our restaurants, and it's helping the community, and everybody's engaging in it. It's fantastic.
I would like to ask our listeners if they'd like to chime in. Is there a local restaurant doing big things in your community right now? You can give us a call at 314-382-8255. That's 382-TALK. Or you can send us a tweet at STL On Air or email us at talk@stlpublicradio.org. Mohammed, you're a relative newcomer to the restaurant industry. Can you tell us how you ended up bringing American Falafel to the Del Mar Loop, and how did the idea come about?
Thank you. So again, I've been traveling back and forth between Dubai and St. Louis for the past 8 or 9 years. and I've really reconnected with the cuisine, the Mediterranean cuisine in Dubai. And I wanted to have some of it in St. Louis, selfishly for me, and I wanted to have the authentic taste. But I couldn't never bring it on my own until I met Chef a few years ago, and we decided to work on the concept for American Falafel as a fast casual Mediterranean, fresh and tasty food restaurant. And we ended up bringing the machinery from Jordan. So all our food is, heavily influenced with a Jordanian flavor. And it's been, we opened in June, believe it or not, which is kind of, people may say I'm crazy. I might be a little bit, but when you taste the food, you think I'm a little bit less crazy. So it's been fantastic so far.
Joe, you're also someone that had a totally different career before jumping in full time to run the Connolly Tavern with your mom. What did you do before making that switch, and how did that inform how you approach the restaurant industry?
Yeah, talk about people who are crazy. I'm right there with Mohammed. My background prior to getting back into the family business was in social work and nonprofit management, and had been working in community agencies, primarily working with young people in youth programs for about 10 years after I got out of college. I grew up here in St. Louis, and we sometimes when opportunity or obligations come knocking, you pivot, and we at that time when got back involved with the bar about 6 years ago, definitely was excited to look at how we could really think about rooting a business in the community, and tried to make that a prism we viewed a lot of our decisions through. Was how do we structure a restaurant? Of course, it has to make money and be profitable to keep the lights on and keep people employed, but also looks at really rooting ourselves in a neighborhood and in a broader regional community. And we've tried a few things over the years, but certainly never been faced with either a need or an opportunity quite like this to double down on a concept that certainly tries to I'll be honest, it's not just about giving back that's crucial, but also to try to innovate a concept that can help us stay open too, right? I mean, that is a give and take that is an important part, I think, of all small business. Like all small business is rooted in community, and it benefits from the community, obviously, but hopefully it also contributes back to the community. And if you strike that right balance, then everyone wins. But certainly now there's so much challenge in the community that many are not winning. Many are suffering and struggling. And I think we're all just trying to come up with the ways that we can hopefully get through this with benefiting as many people as possible in the process.
Joe, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that we often hear from those who their full-time gig is trying to help people who are hungry, they say, cash donations to a food bank can leverage way more food for people who are hungry than almost any other thing you can do. And while that may be true, I guess you're trying to make the point that this program will do some good for people who are in need, but also do something good for your business, which is in need during a pandemic. Is that a good way to characterize that?
Yeah, I would say so. And I certainly would definitely, not only I wouldn't discourage, but I would certainly encourage folks, who are listening, and anyone interested in contributing to, our local ecosystem of community organizations, to definitely donate to those types of organizations that do address food insecurity and provide that safety net. This effort is by no means meant to compete with that, but yes, it helps businesses stay open, which businesses staying open, of course, hopefully folks view, whether it's restaurants or other retailers or other service providers, they view a business beyond just the direct service it provides, whether it's food or anything else, but also how it helps that neighborhood come together, that sense of community. And that's something that I think one of the great things about the St. Louis restaurant community in particular is how much it creates that sense of place that we feel special about here in St. Louis. And likewise, keeping people employed. I mean, ironically, it's all connected, right? I mean, and agencies that are doing such hard work to serve those who are in need, well, if folks have employment, that certainly helps go a long way to provide them the economic opportunity to not experience so many needs and instabilities in their life. And, we're all connected in that regard. And I think, you know, we are hoping that this effort helps some people, but frankly, it'll be a tip of the iceberg of the broader need that's out there among people who are experiencing food insecurity, but more to just add another voice in the chorus of saying we as a broader community need to be thinking about and talking about how do we help support those in our neighborhoods who, now more than ever need help and need us to be talking about, coming together to find ways to support them.
Lucas on Twitter writes, in addition to solid take and bake and homemade canned good options, Gooseberries in Dutchtown has been handing out free groceries, no questions asked, every single Saturday since the spring. Rich on our St. Louis on the Air Facebook group writes, Thai Pavilion in Lime is giving a free meal to anyone in need. Let's get into how some of these different efforts work. Now, Mohammed, I understand you have 2 different efforts underway?
Yes, absolutely. So we have the Loop Gives Back to Frontline Workers program, where 20 restaurants are participating. By going to exploreucity.com, you can see the list of restaurants that are participating, and you can simply go to any of those restaurants' menus, and they have a special meal to donate to frontline workers. You can purchase that meal, and every Sunday and Wednesday we collect them, and we send them to a local area hospital to support our frontline workers. The second program is specific to American Falafel and a partnership with a local NGO called Welcome Neighbor, STL.org, where we are providing a substantial 5-course meal for Christmas that will go to someone in need. And people can go on welcomeneighborstl.org to purchase that meal for themselves and donate a meal to someone in need. And I promise you, it is a 5-star meal that will go to make someone's holiday a very, very special holiday. Our goal is to raise about 500 meals this month to distribute around the holidays, around a few days before Christmas. So both programs can be found on either exploreucity.com or welcomeneighborstl.org.
And at the risk of getting a little too philosophical, I'm wondering if there's something about the restaurant industry that makes charitable events more innate to that, because, feeding people, it's a community thing. It's about getting people together. It's about satisfying a very basic human need, but at an elevated level. I'm wondering from both of you, especially because you have histories in other industries and areas, do you think that there is a stronger connection between this kind of thing and the food industry than maybe some other industries in our area?
So I might take a stab at that if Joe allows me. I would say yes, definitely. So when I started American Falafel, I really started it for selfish reasons. I wanted that food for myself. But from week 1, when we started, I saw the community engagement. And American Falafel became 2 parts. One is the excellent food that we provide, and very, very importantly, the experience that you have at American Falafel and how we engage with the community in the Loop. For example, there's a lady that forgot her wallet a few weeks ago. She was a dentist. And she ordered a substantial meal, but we said, don't worry, take the food, come back later to pay your bill. And she was in, disbelief, and she, came back and left a large tip for the workers there. So she was very happy, and we engaged with her that way. Another is when people actually call us mid-meal to thank us for the food and thank us for the hospitality that they've experienced there. So actually making somebody happy or delighting the community is our goal, and it's not just about food. So it it completely transformed my selfish ways of getting the food for myself is to actually to be engaged within the community. And what better way to engage even more, by kind of getting all the restaurants to participate in a donation program and having our own donation program as well.
Joe, would you like to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly agree with everything Mohammed just said, and that when we think about the connection that a restaurant and providing food, how that connects to serving people, that act of, as you mentioned, basic human needs goes a long way. And I think another basic human need is, human connection and that sense of, connecting with other people. And I think that's been such a challenging situation with this pandemic, is that it's, not only that much harder to get customers to buy the food to take and eat, but also, our whole reason to be is to gather people together in our space and have them make those connections with their friends and family. And that's been hard. It's emotionally challenging, not only economically challenging. And I think, it goes beyond just that act of giving food, but also service. We call it the service industry for a reason. We call the folks who bring you your food servers for a reason, I think, and it goes beyond just that simple transactional motion of handing you a plate of food. But especially if it's a restaurant that I think is doing it well, that server is, serving you that sense of connection, and that sense of feeling like a part of something, and that's hopefully why you want to keep coming back. And I do think that, again, is another reason why I think St. Louis is gaining more and more prominence as a restaurant community, is because more and more of these places are creating that environment that help people feel rooted in their broader community. And just on that note, I have to mention, certainly, you're seeing these great ideas pop up from so many restaurants, and, we're all learning from and benefiting from each other. And I think that's another great thing about our local restaurant community. And certainly as for what we're doing here with our program, I didn't come up with this idea on my own. I saw other restaurants doing amazing things over this last year. Been impressed by the work that Steve's Hot Dogs has been doing, among others. And it's like, well, if they can innovate and do these great things, more of us should. The more places that are doing things like this, the better. I think that's the main message I'd like to drive. It's not a competition. There's not a limit to how many businesses can find ways to get involved in efforts like this. I think the more of us doing these things is inspiring, and will frankly just help that many more people.
Now, Joe, I know you've been frustrated by the lack of a coordinated response from small businesses at the federal and state level. Is that something that you think is going to get worse, or do you think it's something that might get better?
Well, yeah, I was just chatting with a fellow restaurant owner on the phone a little bit ago, and we were just, it was a broken record sort of seesaw of hopes that, back in June, it was just, well, if we just hold on till July, or if we just hold on to August, more relief is coming, more coordination is coming. And that relief, I think, is really two main things. We have to come together and find ways we can stop the spread of the virus and limit the pandemic. That's the key thing that's, slowing our ability down to function as businesses. And then that, also, what are economic supports that can help businesses, stay open and operate in the meantime, and be ready financially to jump back. And jumping back is hard, even for a small restaurant like ours. When you imagine some larger operations, how many tens of thousands of dollars are involved in hiring back staff, purchasing new inventory. Scaling up is difficult the first time, let alone if you've been knocked on your back not once but now twice. I think. We reap what we sow in that regard, and then if we don't find ways, both nationally and locally, to come together and provide some common sense solutions to help businesses survive and bounce back, then we shouldn't be surprised when some of these places we adore and have depended on aren't here for us when the vaccine comes and hopefully things get back to normal starting in the spring. So I think that it's frustrated is certainly a word I would use to describe how I feel. And I don't have a crystal ball. I certainly hope Congress takes action in the next few weeks on what I would view as a kickstart to hopefully a lot more coming next year to really help businesses not only survive but ready to pivot to make 2021 a comeback year we're all going to need.
Mohammed, and we have about a minute left, but I'm wondering if you can comment. You're going into your first winter as a restaurant owner. Are you concerned that bad weather, cold conditions will make all of what you do even harder?
Absolutely. I mean, we already are experiencing it with this recent wave of, colder weather, especially as a new restaurant. We don't have the name recognition. So our biggest challenge is how many people can just, hear about American falafel. So it's going to be a tough winter, especially for a new restaurant like us, where we did not really qualify for any government support because we're new and we didn't have 2019 or history that we can show. So we're strictly having to do and survive on our own. And it's going to be a tough winter. Hopefully, I'm like Joe said, I'm hopeful for the spring. The vaccine is coming. I heard actually one of my doctor friends that said next week it will start landing in St. Louis. So that's actually good news. And hopefully by spring we'll be in somewhat better shape. I'm very hopeful.
I think all of us would agree that having a nice big meal with family and friends at a restaurant safely is something that we all want as soon as possible. Thank you very much to Joe Jovanovich, owner with his mom, Teresa Connolly, of the Connolly Tavern, and Mohammed Qadadeh, founder of American Falafel, for joining us today. Very, very great to talk to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.